All right, so this is Supergirl. It's the latest DCU movie. It's directed by Craig Gillespie. I just recently watched the old Supergirl movie from 1984 and reviewed that. Terrible, really terrible. One of the worst superhero movies I've ever watched. But I had hopes for this one. I really liked that Superman movie that came out last year, even with its problems. I just recently rewatched it. I still really like it. So I had hope. Right, I'm rooting for the DCU, but after watching this yesterday. Unfortunately, this was a really big disappointment for me. So in this, we have Kara Zor-El, or Supergirl, played by Millie Alcock. She is going around planet to planet. This was set up at the end of Superman. She goes to these different planets with red suns so she can drink. She's Kryptonian, so a red sun will depower her so she can actually be, affected by drinking. So she's going around drinking. It's her birthday week. And while that's happening, this girl named Ruth, played by Eve Ridley, her family is killed by this group led by Krim, played by Matthias Schnartz. I can't say the last name, but he killed her family. And so now she's going around trying to find somebody that will help her get revenge on him. And at first, Supergirl doesn't want to be involved, doesn't want to deal with it. But something ends up happening to where now she has a reason to go on this journey to go after this guy. Like I said, I was disappointed by this movie, but there are good things here. I think the performances are good, even if I don't care for some of the characters. The performances are good. I thought Millie Alcock is good with this as this version of Supergirl, and I like Supergirl in this. I think that's a strength of this movie that I like this version of Supergirl. They're differentiating, her from Superman, right? Which is good because you don't want her to be redundant. um, you don't want her to seem unnecessary if she's too much like Superman has the same powers. So he's a Boy Scout and she's not. She's sassy. She's got an attitude. She'll get in a fight, a bar fight at any moment. If it's a red sun, she'll get in a fight with somebody in a second. If there's a yellow sun, she'll get in a fight and in a second and it'll be a little bit more cocky. Like she's like, let's arm wrestle, and she breaks this guy's arm. She's kind of a badass. I like all of the stuff when it comes to her backstory. I think that's the best part of this movie, right? I was largely pretty bored. And then when it would go to, the stuff with Krypton and Argo City, and that was in the other Supergirl movie. It was terrible there. I like the Argo City stuff here, seeing Zor-El, her father, and all this their barrier over this area of Krypton, and seeing how things fell still, even though they were able to survive the destruction of Krypton. All that stuff is really good. It's interesting, and you really feel for him, right? Like I thought that was sad. It was emotional. You really see things from her perspective. I mean, how bad things went, and see her having to leave the planet, leave her people, leave her father, and everything. Lobo, played by Jason Momoa in this, and I think this is kind of like a fan casting. I could have swore people were already kind of like, yeah, Jason Momoa should play Lobo. Um, I like Lobo in this. I like the look of Lobo. I like Jason Momoa as the character, even though Jason Momoa is just Jason Momoa in most things he's in. I think it worked here though, right? I think he was a he was fun. Like every time he popped up, it seemed like Jason Momoa was having fun with the role, and he was fun to watch. So with all those positive things being said, man, this movie this movie feels like it was just thrown together and thrown out, right? And because they want to do a Supergirl movie, or because they want to use this as like a holdover until the next Superman movie. It's just it doesn't work, man. It feels rushed and underdeveloped. Like even just this girl and this whole thing with her family being killed. The family isn't really developed. She's not developed. These villains just show up and they kill them, and then it cuts and the girl is standing in front of her family's graves. It's like, why didn't they kill her? Why didn't they take her? They take girls in this. And it's like, okay. And then she goes to try to find somebody to help her. Supergirl doesn't want to do it. And then we have this forced way to get her in it anyway, where it's like, oh, the villains just show up, just happen to show up to her ship and start taking things. And so Crypto goes to run at them and then gets poisoned. Not killed to where he's just dead, right? Not poisoned to where she can fly to someplace and get an antidote from somewhere else or whatever. No, poison in that there's a time limit and she has to find the villains because the main villain in this has the antidote. It's like, okay, so that just feels forced to me. And then, it's underdeveloped her relationship with this girl, with them becoming closer. You know, it's like that just doesn't feel developed enough. So you have these moments with them, it just feels unearned. As much as I like Supergirl's backstory in this, when she was telling it to the girl, I was like, why is she telling her this? This very personal, sad backstory that she has going on, this weight that she carries around, the loss of her people, her parents. Why is she telling this to this girl that she barely knows? I was like, what's going on? And then even by the end, when she's flying around and she's protecting the girl and everything, the girl's like wide eyed, seeing all the things she could do. Even then, it feels unearned. It's like nothing. You haven't really built anything between these characters. The editing is bad. It's choppy. It doesn't really flow. Right? It's just like you know, it'll be like within a scene, okay? It'll just cut, and then they're over here now. It's just like it felt choppy. It felt weird. Like it didn't really flow. But especially in these action scenes, man, they're already fighting these like villains that are like nothing, or you're not invested in her taking them on really at all. But the fight scenes, the best parts of the fight scenes is when you could actually like see things play out, like a punch or a kick or whatever. A lot of it is really choppy to the point where I was like, I don't understand what's going on. There was a point where she was fighting some of them in like an enclosed space, and I was like, why is she on top of that guy now? Or it's like it was so messy and chopped up. I was like, I can't even follow this. It's just so boring and uninteresting, right? The villains are nothing. I was not invested in the villains at all. This main villain, he's nothing. He's so forgettable, right? This girl, she has this revenge mission, and it's really just she's so one note. Revenge, revenge, revenge. I need to get revenge. I need to get revenge. That's really it going on with her character. And Supergirl will come in and be like, "Whoa, no, no revenge. You shouldn't get revenge. Or revenge is bad. Revenge will change you." And it's like, really, that's it. It's just so repetitive and boring. I was like, man, I am not interested in this at all. I mean, it was really just playing out. Like I was like, her backstory. I was like, oh, I'm into it, and then go back to the story that I'm not interested in. Honestly, while I was watching the movie, you could have asked me what the villain's name was, asked me what the girl in this, what her name was, and I would not have been able to tell you. That's how uninterested I was in all of this. I like the stuff with the sun. I didn't mention that earlier. With this being a space journey and you're dealing with a Kryptonian main character, it shows what color sun that particular planet they're on is, and is it what yellow sun, red sun is like. So so you automatically know, okay, what she's going to be able to do, it's going to be different based on where she's at, the way that she's going to be able to deal with situations. That's an interesting part of this. But then by the end, it's like, okay, so this is forced, right? Like this is forced. Like you force this sun thing towards the end so that the main character, so Supergirl could be at a really low point and not be able to do anything, and then conveniently get her powers back so that she can be part of this climactic fight at the end. It's just like, man, the writing of this just really doesn't work. With all the hate that Millie Alcock is getting online. People are calling her ugly and things like that. It's very clear that certain people want to turn her into their new Brie Larson or Rachel Zegler to like really farm hate against her, which is disgusting and toxic. And I obviously think that's terrible, and people shouldn't be doing that. With all that going on, it's just like she's going through all that for this movie. I would be pissed off, honestly. Like this is just such a nothing movie. It's just like, oh my god. I'm giving this a rental because it's still watchable. It's like got some good stuff about it. I think she's really good, and her performance and also just Supergirl in this movie works. I think with the writing, as much as I still really like that Superman movie, that's got some writing issues. And then you go to this movie and it's like, okay, something's going on here, right? Like you guys need to, really focus on making these scripts really good for these individual movies, make these individual movies really work. Um, and then just really building things from that, because this doesn't work, and the DCU is not going to work if they're putting out stuff like this. It's just that it's not going to work. It's not going to be a success, right? With all these superhero movies and the oversaturation of superhero movies and stuff like that, for a superhero movie to just be there, like that's not going to fly at this point. But anyway, That's Supergirl, right? I mean, this didn't work, man. There needs to be some changes. There needs to be some improvement because the DCU is looking real shaky.